Make yourself a better guitar player today. We're going to be talking about my Taylor 410 CE LTD guitar today. That'd be a nice change of pace to kind of go over what this guitar is about, why I chose this guitar, and so on. Way back, about 2001, I went into the guitar store, and I would always go into the guitar store and check out acoustic guitars and electric guitars, and usually I'd find one or two that were okay. Especially acoustic guitars that, you know, sounded good to me. I remember one time coming across a Martin guitar that sounded great to me, but it was like $1,400, was not a cutaway electric, and it was not in great shape. It was kind of beat up. And at the time, $1,400 back in 2001 was a different deal. So it was quite a lot more money than I had considered spending, but I was like, wow, I found one that sounds great. And then that went away. It got sold somehow, and I'd always come and check more guitars, and I thought, oh shoot, I should have bought that thing way back then, because so few guitars spoke to me. And what I mean by spoke to me is that I'd play it and I felt the notes. I mean, it resonated with me somehow. The frequencies and how they come out of the guitar and how I wanted to hear them coming out of the guitar was really hard to find. I found that a lot of guitars were just okay. I found that most of the time when I tried Martin guitars, they were either exceptional and very expensive or just okay. And I noticed when I started playing Taylor guitars that they were pretty consistent across the board. The quality was always there, but it was, you know, the particular model did it sound great to my ears. And of course, if I'm going to spend $8,000, it's going to be one that sounds great to my ears. But I wanted something that I could maybe afford and get into without spending all that money. So when you're picking out, let me go back. I chose and landed on Taylor as my choice for purchasing a guitar. One of the things that drew me, well, the number one thing that drew me to this particular guitar was that when I played it right away, I was like, wow, this sounds just like I want it to. And it wasn't their, you know, super high-end models. They start at like a 110 series and go all the way up to 810 and 910, stuff like that. There's a huge range in price, but with Taylor guitars, I found that they put high quality in whatever line they're doing. So even their little baby guitars are made with like solid woods and expert craftsmanship, stuff like that. So this particular guitar, the 410 CE, 410, first of all, is the 400 line. This is a Venetian cutaway. So it's a cutaway so I can get up and play, you know, lead guitar stuff. The advantage of the cutaway is you can get up in these frets. The disadvantage, though, is you have less wood there resonating when you're strumming. So usually you sacrifice some of the big tone on a guitar if you want the cutaway. Cutaway is also more expensive. So I don't know that a cutaway is necessary. Most of the time on acoustic guitar, you're not doing lead guitar stuff way up on the neck. But I really like the look of that, and I am a lead guitar player, so I wanted that option. So I liked that. It has Fishman acoustic pickups to it, or a pickup underneath this bridge piece here. There's pickup there, and then the Fishman electronics allow me to control bass, treble, and notch mid-range and things like that. This runs on a 9-volt battery. You just pull this guy out like this. You have a little clip in there. You rotate it out, and there's a 9-volt battery in there. You replace about once a year, maybe less. It'll light up red when it needs to for that. They have a new setup with electronics, and they have a little, I forget what they call it, expression system or something. And they have like 3 knobs here, and they push out. So you push them and they stick out, and then you can rotate them and stick them back in, which is a cool feature because when it's stuck in, you can't really move them. So once you get them to where you want them, you can put them in place and hold them there. Not that I ever bump these really when I'm playing, on accident, I should say. But this volume here can be handy that I'll just turn all the way off when I want to set the guitar down or something. So that's maybe an advantage for this one. I did hear someone telling me a long time ago they had the expression system, that they preferred this old school one over that one. So I thought that was interesting. There's a lot of advancements in acoustic guitar and making them loud for stage and in live performances and stuff. That can be great. I had an expression system on a Taylor, like electric acoustic. I think it was a T5Z. Anyway, I when I compared side by side of the two, I did prefer the sound of this one, even running through the pickups. So I thought that was interesting. So maybe he was onto something when he said he preferred this electronic system over that one. It's probably the day, the room, the humidity level outside, anybody's particular ear. It's very, very picky. Like I said, with Taylor guitars, I found their quality to be super high-end stuff. So the thing I like about this one is it's a 410 series, so I'm not paying the price tag of an 800 series. The 800 series, what'll happen is a lot of times they'll have more high gloss. They'll have a fancier binding. They'll maybe have fancier inlays. Things like that that are more cosmetic, not having to do with the sound of the guitar. Now this one, and with I think all of, I'm not aware of any Taylor guitars that don't have a solid top to them, meaning it's a solid piece of wood, it's not plywood. That is the biggest factor in an acoustic guitar, in price and in quality. A solid top guitar will age over time. It will sound better and better. It just resonates better. It dries out. The plywood top is not going to resonate like a single piece of wood. So this is the most critical piece in picking out acoustic guitar. Solid Sitka spruce is probably the most sought after, and that's what this one is, Sitka spruce. On the back and sides of this one, it uses something called Ovang Call, if I remember correctly. So you can pay more and get like solid mahogany and different woods for the back and the sides that will add to the cost of your guitar. But the main thing that gives you the tone of the guitar is this top. So if you're going to sacrifice on a wood, that's where to do it, right? The back and the sides. But they do a really nice job of bracing the top, which allows the top to resonate, which gives you a really nice tone. So when you try the guitars, just strum a few chords. You can kind of tell right away if you like it with how it sounds immediately. I found if I'm sitting in a guitar store and I'm strumming a thing, and if I'm looking around at other guitars while I'm strumming this guitar, it probably means it's not the one. If I'm totally locked into the guitar I'm holding, that's a good indication. You know, I'm not interested in the other guitars on the wall. This is really grabbing my attention. That can be a good sign too. So that was the big thing for me for picking out this guitar. Number one, I wasn't paying the super high end price. Number two, it's solid Sitka spruce. I did like the cutaway. I did want acoustic electric because I do perform live. When you have an acoustic electric like this and you are performing live, you're not really relying on the solid top sound anyway. It's all going through the pickups. I even have a little piece of rubber that sticks in here and blocks the sound hole. I'll show that to you because you'll get a lot of feedback if you don't have this. The sound from the room goes in and vibrates the strings and they feed off each other. This is called a feedback buster. I highly recommend these. They're amazing. They're cheap. Just solid rubber. They fit right in the hole and block it off. It blocks the sound of that, so you're really focusing on this and it won't be feeding back like I was talking about. And that perfect name, right? Feedback buster. I've seen live bands play and they didn't have these and their guitars are going crazy and going on, you know, just taking off with harmonics and feedback, and oh, it's not pretty. Okay, next thing with these, they have high quality tuning machines. I think these are Grover tuning machines back here. You can even see them. But these make a big difference. When you have these really nice, they tighten up smoothly. They stay in place when you play them, things like that. You'll notice sometimes when you pay a lot for an acoustic guitar, you'll pay a lot for the inlay up here. Can look pretty. This is a nice inlay. It's not super extravagant with extra stuff in here, you know, like a little design in abalone or whatever. The Taylor guitars are known to play really well. And so I would feel comfortable pretty much buying any of the Taylor guitars. And here's something that to think about when you're thinking about spending. I saw a post, somebody said, oh, I only wanted to spend X amount of dollars on a guitar. And then I played this Taylor. And I'm like, wow, it's $600 more than I wanted to spend, but I just absolutely love it. Should I be buying that or what should I do? I'm just kind of an intermediate or beginner player. And something that I always think about and told students about is that when you buy a guitar, um, you're spending the money on the guitar, but you're not throwing away all that money and then it's gone. Like you bought a hamburger, you know, and now you ate the hamburger's gone, you lost all your money. With acoustic guitars, especially if you buy quality, they hold some, if not all of their value, especially if you buy a used one. You can buy a used guitar, play it for 10 years, and it's still a used guitar. It's probably worth what you paid for it, maybe even more if it's a solid top and starting to sound better. You can't get it anymore, stuff like that. Um, this guitar, I think, sells in the neighborhood of $2,000 now. I don't think I even paid $2,000 back in 2001. But I certainly haven't lost money on this guitar. So if you think about it that way, if you buy a $1,500 guitar and you play it for 2 years and you just can't stand it and you're trying to sell it, you know, at least you're going to get, if you do really poorly, you're going to get half of that money back anyway. And a lot of times more than that. So you don't have to think about it as spending that entire amount of money. It's kind of an investment. And the way I look at it too is every single note, every single chord you play is going to sound better. You know, I think, oh, in over years, I'm going to pay 10 cents extra for every song I played that sounds better to my ears every time I play. So I do really firmly believe in buying something that's of a higher quality. You don't have to go over the top and get their best thing, you know, that the most famous stars would play that are all decked out and they're $10,000. They're going to sound great and they're going to look really pretty. And a lot of that is the pretty. I found this 80-20 rule to be really true with these guitars too. You're going to pay 20% of the money to get 80% of what those fancier guitars do. Okay. To get that extra 20%, you're going to have to spend 80% more money. So to get that upper echelon of that little fine tuning, that thing sounds a little bit better. Oh, that little inlay is super pretty. You know, that little extra stuff. You're going to pay a lot more money to get a little bit extra, especially with Taylor, because they use great woods when they do it, and they use their technology for building guitars, so they do a great job. I had read when I was reading about these, this is a 410 series, like I said. CE means cutaway electric. And then this one has LTD after it, so it's limited. When I was doing the research on this, Taylor did a lot of stuff on the limited where they would use the tone woods and things that they had left over from doing more expensive builds. So say they do their builds, they're all done with them, and they have so much material left over, but it's not quite up to standard. They don't have quite enough to do a big run of those. They'll use some of the good woods and things they have left over to build these lower series guitars. But I tell you, this thing right away, it didn't matter what the price was necessarily. I mean, it would have for me to be able to buy it, but for the sound of it, right away it spoke to me. It had just the right amount of bass, the mid-range cut through. It was sweet on the high end. You know, your ear is going to kind of dictate to you what you like. Other things to consider are, do you have larger fingers or smaller fingers? Do you like to play finger style? Then you can get guitars maybe that are a little wider here if you play finger style because you want to get your fingers in there, or a little shorter here if you have smaller hands and you want to get your hands in there. So these are little fine points and stuff like that. But with Taylor guitars, you'll be able to get them set up so they play exceptionally well. Because that's a big factor too. If you have a guitar that the strings are, this far off the fretboard, you got to push them down. You're never going to get a good result there. You got to get a guitar that can be set up in a way that you can push down the notes without pushing them a mile down to get to the frets. So having them be close. So this guy, I found it equally good for strumming. Nice bass to it, nice sweet sounds. I can also do finger style. Right? And it sounds good to me, tones were good. It's sweet enough in the highs without being piercing. It's full enough in the bass that it fills up the sound without being overpowering in the bass. Really nice. A lot of people do stuff like that on their guitar too. This thing I think works no matter what top you have on it. It's going to work no matter what. So that's not really a factor. But again, speaks to you. Don't be afraid to spend a little more money. You're going to get that investment back. And if you got a guitar that's working for you, you're going to play it more. You're going to sound better. And I found this when I play a nicer instrument, it really picks up on all the subtle nuances of what my fingers are doing. So it refines me as a player. I especially remember this in a guitar amplifier. Everything I played, it was so touchy that everything popped out of the speaker, which means I had to be more in control of what I'm doing, or I'm going to hear ugly stuff. I got to be careful. And when I do nail it, it sounds just great. And when it's set up in such a way that it's playable, you know, you don't see people doing NASCAR races in a Toyota Prius. It's just not going to work. Or, you know, a 1999 Chevy Caprice or something. They're just not going to do a race like that. You got to have a tool that allows you to perform at the level that you want to. So even the best player is going to have a hard time. It's just not going to work. You can't just have the best driver in the world jump behind a Prius and expect to race in the Indy 500 and do anything. The equipment's not going to allow that to happen. So there is an element to that. And thankfully these days, you can, you know, accessible good equipment has become accessible. Just that. Most of the time back in the 70s, only the most biggest rock stars could afford to sound that good. Now they have equipment that sounds that good. You know, you can spend hundreds instead of tens of thousands of dollars to get the tones that you're looking for. Kind of like technology, right? We went from tapes to DVDs to Blu-rays to 4K. And now we're paying less for 4K than we did for some of those DVD players and stuff back in the day. It's amazing. I remember touring through Graceland, Elvis Presley's mansion there in Tennessee, and just being so shocked because he was the king of rock. And here was his house. Now they maintained it from where it was when he passed away. They just kept it as it was and kept it as a memorial to him, and you could see all this stuff. Well, you go in there and you think, wow, this guy, he was the coolest of the cool and the biggest of the big back in the day. And I went in his kitchen and I thought, wow, the average person has a much nicer kitchen these days than he did as the king of rock. His microwave was way outdated. His refrigerator was just super ugly. He had to put on records to listen to. That was the top of the line. He had 3 TV sets. They were 19-inch color TV sets with rotary dials. You couldn't even use the remote control on them. He liked to apparently watch news on 3 different channels at the same time. So he had 3 TVs. Really cool. A rock star can do that. But to change channels, he had to use the rotary, and to do the volume, he had to turn it up by hand. And I don't know, we get in our cars and we got cell phones with GPS and Wi-Fi, and we just have access to so much better and nicer stuff that he never got to experience. And we're not the king of rock, right? So let me know if you have questions about this, if there's something that you want to talk about that I didn't touch on this one. If you're looking for a guitar and you're looking for advice on guitar, let me know if I hit those questions right for you on that, or what your questions are. I always love to hear back from people. It's my favorite part about doing this. So I'll look for your comments.